What is up, everybody? Range Breakers here, and I am here with the 50 trade no changes challenge. So the goal is really simple. I got to let my one trade setup trade for 50 trades with no changes at all. So I spent all this time, if you're watching the videos, backtesting on TradingView my Edgeful orb settings for NQ. And if I truly trust it, I need to just ride the train for 50 trades before I decide to keep going or get off. So I made a list of how I've kind of thought of this and when I believe I have enough of my must-haves before going live. So let me show you the current. So this is the back test that I have for 1 year. And again, this is like 6+ months of changing and then realizing certain setups I couldn't trade because the stops were too big, even though the back tests look better. This is what I'm going with. So I traded it today. We had a win. This will be tracking this account for 50 trades. This is the first one. Again, not very big, not very exciting, and that's kind of the goal. So how am I going to go through this? So must-haves before we're going live. Number one strategy that has very similar settings for each day. So this is based off one hypothesis of how I think price action moves. Okay. So it can't be different every day. It can't trade certain days. The orb sizes. So these are the settings that have to be similar. So before I had an orb size that was from like 0 to 4. And a 4 orb size is a 4%, which can be, I think it's like up to whatever 4% of the NQ price is. So it could be up to like 1,000, which is very unusual. But I had a day where I think it was 300 plus points with a large stop loss based on that orb size, and it was absolutely ridiculous. So that experience, and I hate that all this stuff has to happen to you before you make these changes, but at least that's what's happening for me. I have now capped the orb size on every day to be almost the same. With that, I've got take profit is actually identical every day. Stop loss based on orb size, much smaller than it was before, like half. And then my biggest, most important lesson, should make this the brightest color in the world. I have a max loss on top of that. So every day, no matter what, I know what my max loss is going to be per contract, on top of having stop losses based on orb size, on top of having orb sizes capped. So this is going to make the ride and the equity curve hopefully much smoother than the ones I had, which had like really high gains and massive losses. And I'd always start on the major decline. So that's the strategy. And then I need to have a trade every day. I feel like if I'm just picking Tuesdays and Wednesdays and Fridays, then I'm really cherry picking the back test and overfitting it and not truly trading setup that exists in the market. Profit factor over 2 for the last 365 days with commissions. Profit factor over 1.5 over 4 years. And this is one I kind of came up on my own. I'll explain it in a second. P&L to margin ratio over 8. So I had two setups here. Eagle Eye in the Sky is done. The eagle is no longer flying because it did not meet these requirements. So the P&L to margin ratio has to be over 8. Again, these are just numbers I made. So anytime I make a new strategy, I can say, does it meet my requirements? If yes, trade it for 50 trades. If no, don't trade it. So this is based on the P&L divided by the capital needed for one contract. So in this instance, on one contract, $23,000, $23,601 divided by 2,205, and the capital needed is based on the back test, max drawdown, plus the margin needed. And this was a game changer as well because Trade-Evade compared to Thinkorswim has a much, it's insane how much smaller the margin needed is for day trading. And this ratio is just how efficient my capital will be. So this is a 10.7, which actually is really awesome. So I'm super excited about that. Profit factor over 2 is a 2.517 for the last year and a 1.57 before that. So it meets all those requirements. And then these last two really come down to psychology, which I always said, well, you don't need psychology if you've got a back test. But it doesn't really work if you are not comfortable executing the trades and get emotional and want to change things. So the goal is not to change anything for 50 trades. So I'm executing these all with automation. I am not going to sit in front of a single screen once for the next 50 days in terms of trading. They all will be traded with Edgeful that connects to Trade So today's trade, I have actually 2 personal accounts and 4 prop firms I'm testing this with. But this was done with automation, which is amazing because it takes out that emotional piece. And the last one, this is a big one for me. It should feel boring. Every time I've been really excited to trade, it really means I'm just gambling. So although this is going to feel boring, it should have the best results because I'm taking the human emotion out of it. My only skill in all of this is putting together this entire strategy and backtest and then getting out of the way and just letting it ride. So this is a must-have list for any strategy. I don't care what I set up before I can go live with it. So if all these conditions are met and I'm bored and I just do more YouTube videos, if all these are met, then I have to promise myself to let it trade without interruption or any changes for 50 trades. If I feel like I'm going to change anything, that means my position size is way too large. So right now, we've got 6 alerts set up, 2 personal, 4 prop firms. I'm using my funded futures, which I don't really know anything about them. And I have different setups based on risk. I've got a higher risk 3 contract, medium risk 2, and a 1 contract, lower risk, that we're going to let those ride too. May blow up, may not, but all of them will be done automation-wise. So I'm feeling, every time I feel like I'm almost there, we're not there and I change something. So this is my kind of promise or contract to just let it ride. Why spend all this time if I'm not going to trade it? So those are my alerts. They're going to rip. And hopefully this is helpful for you in terms of where to figure out where to spend your time. Again, you trade however you want, but discretionary never has worked for me. So I'm going full automation. I've got a very clear list of must-haves before going live. And now I just need to let it ride and be boring. And I will be successful, really successful, if I don't even look. That will be, should add that. Can I trade this without looking and just let it run? Just like you would like your ETFs for the S&P 500. That will mean we have a setup worth trading and I have the correct size. So hopefully this is helpful because I've been battling at this for a long time. And today begins the 50 trade, no changes challenge. Hopefully this is green in 50 trades. We start off with a small winner, nice and boring, just so we like it. And I didn't have to click any buttons to make the trade. So if you like this, subscribe, and I'll see you guys on Monday. Talk soon. Thank you.